Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. It's our Shabbat class, the 13th of January, 2024. We're going to be picking up from last night. It was a lot of, we had a pretty good class. A lot of stuff was brought out, but I didn't get to finish everything I was dealing with. So I'm going to bring it over here on the Shabbat class. The discussion inside the room is recognizing the Redeemer of the Israelites. Okay. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. We have a lot of videos over there that you can examine and get the meat out of. In that process, if you like, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like the video. And if you feel any need to support the channel, we have a cash app at the bottom of the screen. Okay. And our hours of operation, we're not only on online on Friday nights for our clubhouse, but we also on Tuesday nights for our advanced Bible study from 8 to 10 Central Time. And then we come back on Wednesday for our reading through the Tanakh. We read out the Old Testament and some of the other books that was hidden from us. That's on Thursday. That's on Wednesday nights, 8 to 10 Central Time. We come back Thursday nights for our women's advanced Bible study. That's on that's from 8 to 10 Central Time. And then Saturdays we got 2 Shabbat classes. We have one in the morning from 10 to 12 a.m. Then we have another one from 6 to 7 to close out the Shabbat. Okay. So with that being said, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on the mountain. That pertain to our laws, our statutes, and our culture and our way of life. So with that being said, I want to say shalom. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to our Shabbat class. Okay. So before we get started, we're going to do our moment of silence. We're going to do our Sabbath prayer, read the Psalms. We have some current events that I want to deal with, and then we'll some need to know information, and we'll open it up for some questions and comments from previous classes. And then we go into our topic, which is recognizing and confirming who our Redeemer of the Israelites really are. Okay, so this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all of these doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, we pray unto the Lord, my God, we make our confessions. O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping covenant and mercy to them that love thee and to them that keep thy commandments. O Lord, righteousness belongs unto thee, but unto us a confusion of face as it is this day, to the men of Judah, to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries wherein thou hast driven us because of our trespass, that we have trespassed against thee. As it is written in the laws of Moses, all this evil has come upon us in the land of our captivity, here in the Americas, Caribbean, okay, in Great Britain and Africa. O Lord, according to thy righteousness, I beseech thee, let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from thy city, Jerusalem, and thy people, and thy holy mountain. O Lord, hear this prayer and cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary and thy people for your sake. O Lord, open their eyes and incline their ears to hear and behold our condition. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hearken and do, and defer not for thy own sake. For thy people and your land need you desperately at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. I'm going to read the Psalms. Okay. Read the Psalms. Okay. Okay. I'll read Psalm 7. It's a prayer for deliverance. Okay. It says, O Lord, my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me and deliver me, lest he tear my soul like a lion, or rending it in pieces, while there is none to deliver. O Lord, my God, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, yea, I have delivered him that without cause is my enemy. Let the enemy persecute my soul and take it. Yea, let him tread down my life upon the earth and lay my honor in the dust. Selah. Arise, O Lord, in thine anger. Lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies, and await for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So shall the congregation of the people compass thee about. For their sake, therefore, return thou on high. The Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, according to my righteousness and according to my integrity that is in me. Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just, for the righteous God trieth the hearts and the reins. By the fences of God, which saveth the upright in heart. God judgeth the righteous, and God is angry with the wicked every day. Okay? If he turn not, he with his sword, he have bent his bow and made it ready. He have also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against the persecutors. Behold, he travaileth with iniquity, and have conceived mischief, and brought forth falsehood. He made a pit, and dug it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own pate. I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and I will sing praises to the name of the Lord Most High. Okay, those are Psalms 7. And what I wanted to shine a light on was I continue to tell you how that these Israelites are dealing with the Lord of hosts. A lot of them, the priests and the Levites and the kings, a lot of them, they see him, especially on these high holy days. It's like a special day. He comes down and visit them. So it says in David's talking, he says, arise, O Lord, in verse 6, arise, O Lord, in thy anger, lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies, and await for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. So shall the congregation of the people compass thee about. See that? So shall the congregation. So this congregation, they are congregating together it's a high holiday or something, and they're in the temple. So he says, so shall the congregation of the people come past thee about. So come around thee, gather around thee, right? For their sake. Therefore return thou on high. So we see right here two things. He came down to whatever was going on. They all around him in the sanctuary, in the temple. Then he says, return to on high. So go back to heaven, back to the right hand side of the Father. And that's why you see in the scriptures, he's always saying the day of his visitation. So he coming from somewhere and he visiting the Israelites. Okay. So anybody got comments on that? Okay. So
Yes,
with that
sir.
being
Shalom. As David, as you read in 6, he actually uh, confessed his wrongdoings and wanted the Lord to judge him on those, and because he repented, to save him. And he says that the Lord God he knows our thoughts and our motives, and it's a thing that we have to continue to look into the things we do.
okay, let's go for that. Okay, so with that being said, we go to our current events.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I want you guys to see a very powerful video from the Syrian president, guys. And he made this public speech to what looks like, Syrian politicians. And during this speech, he decides to talk about the Holocaust, okay, and what the so-called Jewish people went through, right? But in this speech, guys, he makes a very, very important comment that everyone has to hear. He reveals the true identity of the so-called Jewish people, guys. Okay, and it is exactly like I have been talking about on my channel. Those people are not the real Jews. They are Khazars who converted into Judaism. Okay, so this is further proof of what I have been teaching on my channel. Okay, so guys, here is the video. It's not too long. It's like 2 minutes or less. Okay, so here is the video. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Okay, so let me pause it right here. We'll just read as it goes, okay? Most of us do not know that the rise of Nazism between the two world wars happened with American support. The question on everyone's mind is, how is it that despite the German collapse and European constraints, Nazism was allowed to rise and build an army? It was done with American support, money, loans, and investment, guys. Okay, this is something many people don't realize. Okay, prior to the end of World War I, America was actually pro-Germany. Many people don't know this. Okay, that didn't change until the British made a deal with the Jewish people, the Jewish community, to sign the Balfour Declaration, that illegal document that somehow gives those Khazarians rights over Palestine. Okay, very highly illegal document. Okay, once that was signed, America switched places. The Jewish people used their media, their newspapers, their radio, all their influence over American media to now push the narrative that the Germans were bad guys, when just a few weeks before they were friendly with the Germans, guys. Okay, crazy stuff. Now, he has gone into talk about the Holocaust. Now, let's see what he has to say. There is no evidence that 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. Perhaps there were Holocausts. No one denies it. He's not saying that people didn't die. but he's doubting the figure. That 6 million number, he believes, like a lot of people, guys, that number is gravely exaggerated to make the Jewish people, the Khazarians, look more like victims, guys.
حصلت طحالب لا أحد ينفيها وهناك معسكرات اعتقال.
True, there were concentration camps.
صحيح ولكن الدليل
But what shows you that this is a politicized issue
على أن هذا الموضوع مسيس وليس إنساني
and is not a humanitarian issue and is not real. So he's telling you that the Holocaust, while people definitely did die, it has been exaggerated so much. The events of that Holocaust has been exaggerated by the Khazarians so much that it's not even real, guys.
ولا حقيقي. كيف نتحدث عن
How can we talk about these 6 million, the Jewish people, right?
6 ملايين ولا نتحدث عن
but not about the 26 million Soviets killed in that war.
26 مليون سوفيتي قتلوا في تلك الحرب يعني 6 ملايين
Are those 6 millions more precious? Well, to the Khazarians, yes, they are. To the Khazarians.
لا الممارسات
The same acts were everywhere, guys.
نفسها كانت على كل الاتجاهات. لم يكن هناك
There was no method of torture or killing specific to Jewish people, guys. Damn.
كطرق قتل مختصة باليهود ولا طريقة تعذيب مختصة باليهود في كل الأماكن.
Yeah, so we hear this all. We starting to hear this. Seem like every other day. Everybody exposing who these people are that's over in the land of Israel. And so I played that to play this right here. It's like, I mean, if you have any kind of concern, you should be able to understand what this is. Check this out. If you don't know nothing about it, these Houthis that's over in Yemen, America been attacking them over the last couple of days. And so thousands and hundreds of thousands of them got together. And this is what they're doing. All of them got guns. Death to America. It's all over the Middle East, all over the Western, all over the Arab world. It's the Yemenis people and the Houthis and it's the thousands of them over in America too. They're doing the same thing in Washington, D.C. And we speak protesting. So while we going out to eat Mexican food, this was happening. Okay.
Down to what this is and why President Biden approves of this. So that's the good news. The bad news that we are going to touch on today as well is that right now Congress is debating a few different bills, two of which they don't know if they can pass in time. I'm going to address what this means moving forward, how this is going to impact you, and why this somewhat delay could mean good news for you in the future. So I'm going to address that coming up. All I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So it is no surprise that Congress has been somewhat struggling. They can't pass bills. They've been struggling to reach any type of bipartisan agreement on any bill. So all they do is pass back and forth these partisan bills that they know the other party is never going to agree to. Well, that's going to change. But first, the reason why we are seeing a bill that does have bipartisan support and some are saying could pass within the next 2 weeks is because we have all these delays. For instance, right now with the funding deal still out of reach for our government funding bill, well, right now some are saying to prepare for a shutdown. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says, no, don't prepare for a shutdown because Senator Schumer is going to move forward with a temporary funding bill to avoid a shutdown as spending talks continue. That's the good news there. But here's what you need to understand. That's just one of the bills. The next bill is the border bill. But according to one House Republican, he admits that he's going to kill the border deal if it helps President Biden. Guess what? Democrats are saying the exact same thing. Democrats are saying that if this bill helps Republicans, they are potentially going to kill that bill as well. So where do we go from here? Well, here's the good news. We are about to see something big happen for the American people. It's going to really help the lower income and middle income households. Here's what's going on. Right now, reports indicate that Democrats are trying to do all that they can to bring back the child tax credits. Republicans, on the other hand, are okay with this. They agree to this, but they say, if we are going to give you the child tax credits, then we want stuff for businesses, business deductions, things for research and development. Well, here's where we're at. Congress is getting close to a $70 billion tax deal that includes breaks for children and businesses. It says Democrats want to resurrect an expanded child tax credit, which cut child poverty, while Republicans are seeking tax breaks for businesses, including research and development and small business expensing. Now, what does this mean? What does all this mean? Well, I know a lot of people are going to say, don't waste our time. Congress has been talking about this for the past 2 years. This is never going to happen. Well, that's where you're wrong. According to many reports, Congress is getting close to passing this bill because it falls on a very important date, but there's a deadline now. In previous talks and discussions, there was never a deadline. Now there is a deadline, and this deadline has to do with two different things. First, it has to do with when the IRS is going to start accepting tax returns, which is January 29th. That is going to be for the 2023 tax filing season. That's big. And the reason why that's big is because there's something else that's happening. This year, we have a presidential election. So being that we have a presidential election, Congress wants to ensure that we pass something before that election. Well, Republicans could easily be able to fix and manipulate things and try to make it work in their favor. But Democrats, on the other hand, know that if they don't get this included, if they don't get this child tax credit included, then this is going to really hurt their upcoming chances of winning the presidency again and keeping control over the Senate and possibly gaining their control back over the House of Representatives. So because of that, they are saying that, no, we need to get this done. Now, here's where things are interesting. What we know is that this, for businesses, it's a pandemic era tax cut. It's the employee retention credit, okay? The employee retention tax credit. This is something that we've seen a lot of fraud over the past few years. So because of that, Congress is deciding, let's get rid of that and let's reallocate that money. Let's repurpose that funding somewhere else. That this is where it's going, right? But Republicans are saying, well, if we are going to get rid of the employee retention tax credit, then we need to have something else for businesses. And this is where, right now for business expensing, don't know. But that's the first thing. Democrats want it fully refundable. Republicans say no, absolutely not. So that's where they are currently having issues. The second thing is right now, Democrats say that business tax deduction is worth more than what the child tax credit is worth. So Democrats want something else in exchange. We don't know what they're going to toss in there, but they are asking for something else.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. So we got some need to know information right here. This has to do with I don't know if anybody know how big this is, but it has to do with what I was talking about with the what happened to the convention. They shut it down. Well, they just came up with a remedy for that. Now they're gonna redo the convention, but it's gonna be in Burkina Faso, where this guy, this Abraham Traore, militant.
That we are going to make more intimate our interaction. This is why the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is headquartered here in Accra, Ghana. This Accra, Ghana is where all Africans of goodwill pay homage. Because out of this Accra, Ghana, there was a great son, Usagifo Kwame Nkrumah. Shall be well with Accra, Ghana.
There's no way we can express how it was disappointing, how it is paining, but all in all, let us look forward, let us move forward. Challenges are there, but all in all, Professor Pierre Lumumba, Dr. Kana Chombo Kwao reacted after the cancellation of the convention that was scheduled to take place in Accra, Ghana on last Sunday, January 7th, 2024. But all in all, Professor Pierre Lumumba, Dr. Kana Chombo Kwao, Peter Hobby, and Julius Malema was scheduled to speak to African youth from Ghana in Accra, but all in all, the convention was cancelled by the government authorities of Ghana. But this is the beginning. I'm happy that maybe the convention will take place in other part of the continent, as Professor said, maybe in Ouagadougou, and we hope our leader, young leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, will welcome us as the people of Africa to speak, to address challenges that are facing our people in the continent of Africa. And that is good because these Pan-Africanists leaders are just sharing their views, their ideas to the African people, African youth, so that we can see how we can develop, how we can move forward together. But sometimes we mix political issues and influence issues when it's at the time when we need to come together. So we can say that because, Ghana is a member of ECOWAS, and all of us, we know that ECOWAS threatened Niger.
So they rescheduled the convention. They rescheduled it in Burkina Faso with this guy Abraham Traore there. Okay, so we'll open it up for some questions and comments, and dialogue. Anybody got anything they want to talk about from last night or during the week, whatever? Any questions?
Ground turkey is your diet.
Shalom, no sir.
With protein, which
Say that again.
source of
I
essential
said shalom, not at this time.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna play this right here. this is happening over in Canada. It's like I said, it's so much stuff happening, and it was all like I said, like we read last night in the book of Jubilees, chapter 23. All this stuff was prophesied, is made plain in Jubilees chapter 23. But let me get this right here. Like everybody is retaliating, coming back on what these people have done over the last 2,000 to 3,000 years. All the lies that's been told. So let me get it. These churches, something like 15 churches been burned down in Canada. Let's see. Please. Okay. Okay.
All natives were forced to go to church. Colonization, right?
We're on a journey to the scene of a crime. I'm with Clarence Louie.
So these Indian people, natives.
Longtime chief of the Osoyoos Indian Band. He's been down this road in BC southern Okanagan many times, as the history of the Catholic Church here weighs heavily on him.
I mean, I'm pissed at the church. I got no respect for the church. That cross done so much damage. I mean, caused so much grief and killed so many people, not just native people.
There's something he wants to show us.
Just the building itself. I'm not talking about the religion or the symbolism of that. It's just an old historic building.
This is an amazing sight here.
There's a big orange sheep.
Past the rolling hills of sagebrush and sheep.
This is the one that got burned down. Oh my goodness.
It looks fresh. We come to a clearing. Structures right across Canada. We examined media reports, followed up with police, fire, and local authorities. We checked court records to learn the circumstances in each case. Based on our investigation, we found 33 churches in Canada which have been fully lost to fire since May 2021, more than double the number from the previous 2 years, and only 2 were ruled accidental. 9 of the fires led to arson charges, 12 people in total. At least 6 are from the Indigenous communities where the churches were burned. 5 have yet to face trial. A local youth was convicted in this fire on the Kikiwan Cree Nation in Alberta.
Okay, so anybody got any idea why you think these churches being burned down? Okay, if you go back around the same time when he said it started, it's remember they found all those bodies of all those Indian Native American children that were buried outside the back of the church. They had been killing them. So with these, even in Africa, everybody's waking up to the lies that the Catholic Church brought to all these different people. All the lies converted them, had them believing in all this stuff, and now it's coming out. They find out that it's all tied to child molestation and child sacrifice, all this stuff. That's what it's all about. And they got it cloaked over with a nice, warm, friendly blanket, but it's all paganism. And everybody's starting to find that out. And they pissed off. Like I said, we just saw what the people over in Yemen was doing. Hundreds of thousands of them, they up in arms. You got them burning churches in Canada. The Africans that went berserk. They running everybody out of there. So we just read in Psalm chapter 7 that what you sow is going to be recompensed on your own head. And that's what we're witnessing. Everything coming back on their head from all angles. Okay? So you should understand that. Okay, so if nobody have no comments on that, what I'm gonna do is go on into the class. And what happened was we had, like I said, we had a good conversation last night on Clubhouse on our means of Bible study about recognizing the root of Redeemer is of Israel, I guess, and so, but I didn't get to this one particular thing that needs to be talked about. That's what I'm gonna do right here. It's I'm gonna play the video because it's important. It's the video is if you want to go back and watch it. Like I said, it's if you're trying to get to the bottom of things and get a serious understanding of what's really going on, you will watch it. So it's it came on YouTube. Was there another Jesus? So what this guy did was his name's Sinker. I don't know if anybody know him. He's like a religious investigative reporter. He's a Israeli, but he go around doing investigative work on different topics like Jesus' tomb, where it's at, and where the real Israel at, and all this stuff. So this particular thing right here was, if you did your research or you did any kind of searching, you know that they had other so-called saviors or deliverers that came around that same time when they concocted JC and like Brock Kobler. He's the one that came. But so we're gonna play a little bit of it, and my focus is on this guy called Simon. Okay, Simon, Simon. Okay, here we go.
Mosaic stones come from Perea, once again suggesting that painted Aramaic and Hebrew inscriptions are unique to the region. He bought them from a now-deceased dealer named Rahani. But how do dealers get large looted pieces out of Jordan and into buyers' hands?
Rahani, I know, 45 years.
Now, let me get this straight. A piece like this, right? Some guy digs it out of the ground. He gets it. He paid off people on the airline. Yes?
Yeah.
And that's how it got to London.
Yeah.
And then he comes straight to you.
Yeah.
Since Rahani was the address for high-end archaeology that originated in Perea, and Mosaief knew Rahani for 45 years, Simca decides to take a chance.
Okay, so what I want to know is this. Did you ever encounter a piece much bigger, 3 feet high, the one that was recently published?
I saw it. It is in Zurich.
Rehani showed it to you?
Sure, he showed me.
Why didn't you buy it?
Because he asked me such a big price.
How much did he ask for?
$200,000.
$200,000. But what would you have been prepared to pay at that time?
150.
You would have paid 150,000?
Yeah. No more.
Simca's now unraveled many of the stone's secrets. The writing style, the archaeology, and the way the stone appeared on the antiquities market all point to Perea as its place of origin. Simca has also discovered that a rebel named Simon came from this area, and that his followers thought he was a Messiah. Israel Knoll believes that he has found strong textual evidence suggesting that Simon's followers were the first to claim that their leader rose from the dead. The argument centers on a word mentioned on the stone that is meaningless to anyone except a biblical scholar. The word is domen, which means dung. But Knoll points out that every biblical reference to domen means one thing only: rotting flesh.
Sar HaSarim, Domen Arubot Surim, Prince of Princes, and he decomposed in a gorge because those who have killed him did not let his body to be buried.
Around the time of Jesus, the story on the stone seems to fit Simon and no one else. Simon's story goes like this. At first, Simon was successful. He defeated a Roman garrison and crowned himself Messiah. The Romans went after him with a vengeance, and they chased Simon into a Perean gully like this one. After a bloody battle, they decapitated him. To further demoralize his followers, they didn't allow them to bury his body. This is the very story Knoll believes he has decoded on the stone.
But really, this makes sense. I can just see a battle, right? They can come in here. A few people can hold off a lot of people, but they can get surrounded. So the leader wants to get a little bit of a better position, right? He runs up a place like this. He's chased. He's literally met. He's surrounded from that side. He's decapitated. You know, he falls. He dies in a place like this. You know, and then, you know, his body is all over the place, and then it's easy to guard so that the followers can't come to even bury their dead. Lying down here, decomposing.
His body is turned into Domin. This word is used several times in the Bible where somebody is not allowed to be buried. His body stays outside and rats, like these animals that we see here.
But if Knoll is right, and Simon is the man memorialized on the stone, why would his followers continue to call him a Messiah after his violent death? After all, a Messiah was supposed to defeat his enemies, not be defeated by them. It is at this point that Knoll's detective work becomes most controversial.
We've been investigating an ancient Hebrew inscription written around the time of Jesus' birth that tells the story of a Christ-like figure who comes back to life 3 days after he's killed. Our sleuthing has led us to a man called Simon of Perea.
Simon's followers believed he was the long prophesied Savior, sent to free them from Roman rule.
Every text in the Hebrew Bible that talks about this king is coming, he does two things. He executes justice and righteousness in the land, and then he goes and conquers basically the entire world and brings it all under the rule of God. I mean, this is the Messiah. This is his resume, his job description. Josephus, the Jewish historian, tells us that the reason Herod fortified these desert places is he feared more than anything that a native king might rise in Perea and in Judea and Galilee and have some sort of claim to the throne. Now this is very interesting. What could some peasant, like a Jesus figure, even before Jesus, we've got a number of people that come along. They don't have an army, they don't have power, they don't have the wealth or the influence of Herod. He could order 1,000 troops at any moment to do anything. What they have is this pedigree. If anybody is a descendant of King David and begins to get the religious call to say, I think I'm the one, there's the potential for hundreds of thousands of Jews to flock to this person and make him king.
Thousands of people did flock to Simon's side. He was crowned king and declared Messiah, Redeemer. In Greek, he was called Christ. At first, Simon seemed to be a God-chosen winner. He led his followers to victory. But then, the Roman army defeated him, decapitated him, and left him to rot in the desert. At that point, according to Knoll, Simon's followers did something revolutionary. Even after death, they continued to call him Christ.
So actually, out of the
Okay, so this is what pagans do. That's what so many people, these so-called Christians, don't understand how these heathens and how these Gentiles, that's how they operate. So my question is, Anybody got any idea who they think this Simon is? Anybody ever heard of Simon?
No, sir. Unless his name was changed to Simon, I don't recognize it.
Okay, so I go here all the time. I'm in the apocryphal books. Tight shoes up. So I'm in the apocryphal books, and on First Maccabees, I was telling you how that First Maccabees tell the whole story of missing information of how these Edomites gained the land of Israel in 1948, because they was there in they occupied the land of Israel just like the Israelites did. Just like the Canaanites occupied the land of Israel, the land of Canaan, the Israelites ran them out with Joshua and Moses and Jasher and all them. They ran the Canaanites out because they was sinful. It was a land of God of host land, and he not gonna tolerate a wicked, sinful people there for too long. You run them out. So yeah, the Canaanites ran out by the Israelites. The Israelites got ran out by the Greeks, but it was in 143 BC when they got ran out. And when they got ran out, Esau came in, stole the land. We went over there 1,000 times. Book of Obadiah. So the first Maccabees tell you the time when it happened and how it all happened. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick it up let me get it. Like I said, I'm in First Maccabees, and let's get it. I don't know if everybody got no apocryphal book, whatever, but it's I'm in I got it down by page number. So get it. It's 387, right? It says okay. This is when when Antiochus came to the land. It says let me get it. It says what are we to do to these men? Where can we take them when your sanctuary is trodden down? This is what Daniel prophesied. Trodden down and profaned, when your priests are grieved and humiliated. Here the heathens gather together against us to destroy us, and you know their design against us. How can we make a stand before them unless you help us? And they sounded the trumpet and gave a great shout. Then Judas appointed officers over the people, colonels, captains, lieutenants, and sergeants, and he ordered those who were building houses or planting vineyards or betrothed to women or were afraid, even one of them, to return home as the law provided. And the army moved and encamped in the south of Emus. And Judas did prepare yourselves and be brave men and be ready in the morning to fight these heathens who are gathered against you to destroy us and our sanctuary. For it is better for us to die in battle than to witness the ruins of our nation and our sanctuary. But he will but he will do just as shall be the will of heaven. So right here, like I was saying before, this is where the the Edomites tricked the whole world, really. But I showed you in Daniel, he said that Zerubbabel was going to come back, rebuild the temple and the wall. That's what Nehemiah was. But he said the prince is going to come after that and destroy the city and the Israelites, tear down the temple, and cause the abomination to make a desert and keep the Israelites out the land. And that's exactly what happened. These people came after that. So they're not doing the will of God, like he just said right here. They're not doing the will. The will of God was that he was going to cause them to be the land, that kick them out of the land, and they was going to be out of the land for 3 days. And we know a day with the Lord is 1,000 years. So who is these people right here that's, like I showed you, that rededicated the temple? Daniel don't tell us the temple gonna get rededicated. He says it's gonna get desolate. It's gonna be demolished, and the Israelites gonna be ran out. Nobody's gonna rededicate no temple. So why are they doing that? To bring in this Messiah that they had to, in order for them to bring in this Messiah, they had to extend the story. So we see it right, it started right here with Judas, right? So who is this Judas? Okay. First I'm gonna read the rededication of the temple, which is not part of prophecy. I'm in 3, let me read it right here. It says, and the whole army gathered together, and they went up to Mount Zion. This all Antiochus already came, the prince that shall come, Daniel 9:26. He already came, destroyed the temple and the abomination, and caused the abomination to make it desert. So this after that. And the whole army gathered together, and they went up to Mount Zion, and they found the sanctuary desolated. That's the end of Daniel prophecy right there. Found it desolated, and the altar polluted, and the doors burned up, and the weeds growing in the court, as they do in the woods on the mountain, and the priest quarters torn down, and they tore open the doors, opened their clothes, uttered a great lamentation, and covered themselves with ashes, and fell on their faces on the ground, and sounded the ceremonial trumpets, and cried to heaven. So, see right here? This ain't making no sense. Why you crying to heaven when he already prophesied what's going to happen? Cried to heaven. And Judas appointed men to fight the garrison in the citadel until he should purify the sanctuary. So he's trying to repurify the sanctuary. Right? So let's go back to Daniel. Daniel said, it says in chapter 9 of Daniel, what Jeremiah told him, they was going to be in Babylon for 70 years. Daniel reading the scriptures according to what Jeremiah said. And he reacted to according to what Jeremiah said. Well, Daniel ain't said shit about no temple getting rededicated. He said it's going to be an abomination that make it death. So it says, then Judas appointed the men to fight in the garrison in the citadel until he should purify the sanctuary, and he appointed priests that were without blemish in adherence to the law. And they purified the sanctuary and carried out the stones that had defiled it to an unclean place, and they deliberated as to what they should do about the altar of burning offering, which had been polluted. And a good idea occurred to them. See, that is what Christians do. A good idea, not prophecy. A good idea occurred to them to take it down so that it might never be thrown up to them that the heathen had polluted it. So they took down the altar and deposited the stones in the temple or mountain in a suitable place until a prophet should come and declare that it should be done with them. And they took the whole stones as the law required and built a new altar. See that? Built a new altar like the former one. Okay. Okay. Built a new altar like the former one. Okay. And they built the sanctuary and the interior of the temple and consecrated the courts. And they made new holy dishes. Look at this. They made new holy dishes, and they brought a lampstand and an altar of incense and a table into the temple, and they burned incense on the altar and lighted the lamps on the lampstand, and they lighted the temple, right? And they put the loaves of bread on the table and hung the curtains and completed all the works they had undertaken. So let's look at that. So Nebuchadnezzar came, right? Solomon, David, and them had built all these, had made all this, the furniture. And Moses and them had made all the furniture and stuff that was inside the temple. Inside the temple. Nebuchadnezzar took it to Babylon. Well, after 70 years, the Lord of hosts caused them to bring all that stuff back. They ain't have to make no new dishes. He beat it out of the people that had it, and they brought it back. So right here, these people making new dishes. So where the original dishes at? You know what I'm saying? And now these replicas and all this is the same thing that's in Herod Temple. This is how Herod Temple came about. You see that? So what they're doing, what they're getting ready to do now in 2024, they got replicas. These same people that did this, they're trying to do it again. They want to build replicas. They already got them on display in glass cases all over Jerusalem right today. So we see right here, this is where the lie started at. But like I said before, my objective is to show you who this Simon is. Because just like JC, they laid all these, they had, there's a technique they got to make a Messiah or a Redeemer. They lay all this stuff on him, he gets, he turned water into wine. He speak in the temple at 12 years old. No matter if he already been killed or whatever, these are the characteristics they lay on him. So the Simon got the same characteristics that JC got. And the guy just showed you that they pinned him down and killed him. Cut his head off and he rotted inside his gorge. But they turned around and made a Messiah out of him. So here we go. It says, okay. So Judas. First of all, Judas' name is, let me get that first. Let me go there right, show you this right quick before I continue on this. So who is this Judas, right? Okay. Who is Judas? Now, keep in mind, they're supposed to be out of the lineage of David. They ain't. These people here ain't out of the lineage of David, and Jesus ain't out of the lineage of David. So it says right here in okay, page 407. I'm in chapter 8 of First Maccabees, verse 20. Judas, who is called Maccabeus. So this is where First and Second Maccabees came from. First and Second book of Maccabees. Judas, who is called Maccabeus, and his brothers and his Jewish people have sent us to you and make an alliance with a firm peace with you, and they will make and that we may be enrolled as allies and friends. So they turned around and made these Maccabees brothers out of David lineage. All this is a concoction. Okay, so let's keep going. So we go to let me get 398, 393. Okay, and it says in 393 that so here you go right here. It says, and he left off the son of Zechariah and Hazariah and leaders of the people they got names of their forefathers, right? These Edomites, and with the remainder of the force in Judah to guard it, right? It says, and he gave them their orders, saying, this Judas, he gave them their orders, saying, take command of these people and do not join battle with the heathens until we return, right? Then 20, Simon, here go to Simon. Simon was allotted 3,000 men, so this Simon is one of Judah's brothers. He one of the Maccabees. Simon was allotted 3,000 men to go into Galilee, and Judas 8,000 men to go into Galilee, to Gilead. And Simon went into Galilee and engaged in many battles. That's what the guy just said. Engaged in many battles with the heathens, and the heathens were beaten before him. See that? And that's how he got his fame. And he pursued them to the very gates of Ptolemais. There fell of the heathens fully 3,000 men, and he plundered them, and he took with him those who were in Galilee and Abada, and their wives and their children, and all they had, and brought them back to Judea with a great rejoicing. And Judas Maccabeus and his brother Jonathan crossed the Jordan and marched 3 days' journey into the wilderness, and they encountered the Nabateans and met them peaceably and told them all that had happened to their brothers in Gilead, and that many of them were shut up in Bosra and in Barza, in Archemina, and Meat, and in Capernaum at large. Okay, so we see right here, we just keep going. So now we see who Judas is, who Simon is. The Simon that they was just investigating on the video is Judas' brother. So keep going. Okay, and Judas get killed, and it says, let me start right here. What is a hero is what is a hero is fallen? The Savior. Here we go. The Savior of Israel, right? The rest of the deeds of Judas and his wars and exploits that he performed and his greatness are unrecorded. Same thing they put on JC. It ain't, they can't give it to you, so they just wrote it, like I said, in the New Testament. Everything written in red is some shit they just wrote. And that's what we trying to base our understanding off of, something they just wrote. So he says, the rest of the deeds of Judas and his wars and the exploits that he performed and his greatness are unrecorded. And they were very many. It happened after the death of Judas that those who had no regard for the law raised their heads over to Israel, and all the wrongdoers reappeared. And in those days there was a very great famine, and the country went over to their side. Okay, so see, Judas died. Judas died right there. Okay. Then we go to Judas had a brother that was with him, and he died. Let's look at that. These not Israelites. This how they brought in this how we get to the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and all this. These people, they're not Edomites. They're not Israelites. So when so this when Jonathan died, we have you burdened all these people when there is no war between us. Come, all this happened after. This ain't got nothing to do with prophecy, right? So it says, why you have burdened all these people when there is no war between us, come, send them home and choose yourself a few men to remain with you. They're talking to Jonathan. They setting him up. And come with me to Ptolemais, and I will turn it over unto you together with the rest of the strongholds and the rest of the forces and all the officials, and I will go back again, for it was this that I came. And he trusted him and did as he had said, and dismissed his forces and returned to the land of Judah. And he left himself 3,000 men, 2,000 of whom he left in Galilee, and 1,000 went with him. But when Jonathan entered Ptolemais, the people of Ptolemais closed the gates, seized him, and all who had come with him, they put to sword. And Teraphim sent forces and a cavalry to Galilee and the great plain to destroy all of Jonathan's men. And they found out that he had been taken and had perished with his men. But they encouraged one another and marched away into close order, ready to fight. And when their pursuers saw that they were ready to fight for their lives, they turned back, and they all reached the land of Judah unmolested. But they mourned over Jonathan and over his men, and they were greatly frightened. And all Israel mourned for him bitterly, and all the heathens round them tried to destroy them utterly, for they said they have no leader to help or helper. So now let us make war on them and destroy their memory from among men. So they didn't kill Judas, and they didn't kill his brother Jonathan. So ain't but one left. Here you go. Simon heard. You go to Simon that we dealing with. Simon heard that Teraphim had gathered a strong force to invade the land of Judah and destroy it utterly. And he saw that the people were trembling and alarmed. And he went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together and encouraged them and said to them, these Edomites, you know yourselves all that I and my brothers and my father's house have done for the laws and for the sanctuary and for the wars and hardship we have been through. As a result, my brothers have all perished for Israel's sake, and I alone am left. Now, I never want to spare my own life in any emergency, for I am no better than my brothers. But I will avenge my nation in the sanctuary and your wives and your children because of all the heathens are gathered out of hatred to destroy us utterly. And when they heard these words, the spirit of the people revived, and they answered with a great shout, "You are our leader in the place of Judas and Jonathan, your brothers. Carry on our war. We will do all that you would tell us." So he called together all the fighting men and made haste to finish the walls. Look at this. Finish the walls of Jerusalem, put fortifications around it, and he sent Jonathan, the son of Absalom, with a considerable force to Joppa, and he drove out the men who were in it and remained there in possession. The entire front set out for Ptolemais with a strong force to invade Judah, taking Jonathan with him in custody. But Simon pitched his camp in Adida, facing the plains, and Teraphon learned that Simon had risen to take the place of his brother Jonathan, that he was going to make war on him, and sent envoys to him, saying, "It is for money that your brother Jonathan owed the royal treasury in connection with the offices that he had held." So we see right here, how you gonna look at if this is legitimate right here, how you gonna mention JC and don't mention these dudes? This ain't nowhere in the New Testament. Okay, so keep going. So now Simon is their leader, right? Now check this out. Tie his shoes up. So here you go. It says, so now that Simon took over, he didn't want a bunch of wars, like the guy said. They made him the Messiah because he had he had defeated a lot of people. This how the Edomites. This happened in between the time Zerubbabel temple was destroyed that Daniel told us about, and then what they bringing us into is when Herod, sitting on the throne, Herod didn't build the temple. This is what happened in between that they don't want you to know about. So, well, they got it right here, but the Negro can't connect it. So anyway, it says, let's get it. And so it says, so Antipas, the king's friend, came to Jerusalem and saw Simeon's splendor. See that? Now Simeon like Solomon, but he ain't no Israelite. Says so Simon's splendor, and he sideboarded. He was sideboarded with gold and silver plates in his in great pomp, and he was amazed. And he gave him the king's message. And Simon said in reply, "We have neither taken other men's land, nor are we in possession of other men's property, but the inheritance of our forefathers, and was wrongfully held by our enemies at one time, but we are grasping our opportunity, hold firmly to the inheritance of our forefathers. But as for Jopta and Gaza, which you demand, while they have done great damage to our people in our country, we will give hundreds of talents for them." He made him no answer, but went back to the king in anger and reported these words to him, and Simon's splendor and all that he had seen, and the king was extremely angry. So now they're angry because of this guy Simon been raised up. People that got around him. Like the guy said, if you come out and say that you're a king, that you tied to King David, you can get hundreds of thousands of people to jump behind you. So let's look at the end of this. Okay, so we saw his splendor. Now now this is when Simon got killed. What we just saw in the movie. That's how he became the Messiah. So it says, Ptolemaios and his men got up and got their weapons and went to the banquet hall to attack Simon and kill him and his 2 sons and some of his servants. So he committed an act of great treachery and returned the evil for good. And Ptolemaios wrote of this, and he sent to the king so that he might send troops to his aid, and that it might turn over to him their country and their towns. And he sent others to Gaza to make away with John, and he sent letters to the, this is what the letters being sent there, right? It says letters to the colonels telling them to come to him so that he might give them silver and gold and presents. And he sent others to take possession of Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. And a man ran ahead to Gaza and informed John that his father and his brothers had perished. And he said he had sent to kill you also. And he was greatly amazed when he heard it, and he seized the men who came to destroy him and kill him, for he knew that they meant to destroy him. And the rest of the acts of John and his wars and his exploits that he performed, and the building of the walls and the edifices and his deeds, behold, they are written in the chronicles of the high priesthood from the time that he became high priest after his father. So this John is Simon's son. He was the last one out of them. So who is this John? John Hyrcanus. You gotta go do research on that. But John Hyrcanus. So this John Hyrcanus is how they connect him to David lineage. So they're trying to make you, so they want you to think that lineages of David's lineage still going on in this time period. But you can clearly see that Daniel told us the abomination, the desolation came, and he cut all that off and ran the Israelites out. But they continued on. Esau wanted the land, and he continued to go to the land. So that's how, when you get to 70 AD, these are the people that's in the land of Israel. They contrary. They picked the vision up, and then let's look at it. And then I opened up for some questions. So you go to Daniel chapter 11. You go to Daniel chapter 11, and it's right there in your face. It says, verse 11 says, and I'm going to 14. Daniel 11 and 14 says, and the king of the south. This king of the south is Ptolemy. The 4 men, after Alexander died, the Greek kingdom was divided into 4. Each one of these men took a part. These 4 men had a part of the Greek kingdom, and they got a lineage going. So, king of the south is Ptolemy, king of Egypt, Ptolemy. He got a lineage over and that's the king of the south. You got a king in the north, a king in the east, and a king in the west. So this king of the south right here is out of Ptolemy dynasty. He says, and the king of the south shall move with clover and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. And he shall set forth a great multitude. All this has already happened. Multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hands. 12. And when he have taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, and he shall cast down many tens of thousands, but he shall not be strengthened by it. For the king of the south, king of the north, shall return and set forth a multitude greater than the former, and he shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and with much riches. And then 14, this prophecy. In those days, in those times, there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also, here we go, the robbers of our people, talking to the Israelites. Daniel talking to the Israelites. In those times, there shall many stand up against the king of the south. Also, the robbers of our people, that's Esau, shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, but they shall fall. So what do you mean by establish the vision? We just saw it. I showed you Daniel said the desolation gonna come, and he's gonna run the Israelites out, and the temple gonna be destroyed for 3 days, 2,000 years, 3,000 years. But these people picked the vision up. I just read it. They rededicated the temple, try to replicate the furniture in the temple, replicated it, and they started the temple back. That's how you get the Herod temple. All we reading in First and Second Maccabees is the process, the time period in between when Zerubbabel temple was destroyed, the Israelites ran out, and Esau came in. Then you pick it up in the New Testament, these Edomites you're dealing with. The temple in Jerusalem is Herod built it, king Esau built it. When we see over in Nehemiah, when the Edomites came to try to help them build a temple, they told him, no, Edomite can't build no temple to the Creator. It's all business. It's our responsibility. You don't have nothing to do with it. And then we get to the New Testament, Herod got a temple Edom built. This how it happened. What I just read. And the Messiah that's in here is Simon. Okay? Any questions, comments?
Shalom.
Okay.
And as we listening to that, and the lineage of David is not through Mary, because she
Nah.
cannot have a seed, and she's not even a
Right.
part of the lineage.
Exactly. Ain't that something?
Yes, sir.
Right. Like I was saying before, when you go to Matthew, let's go there right quick. You know, let's go to Matthew right quick. I want to show you what these people did. So when you go to Matthew, like I said, you can't concoct the Messiah that's gonna come on the earth and die for the people if you got to put him in David's lineage, right? So, like I said before, but Daniel done told you most cut off Israel as a nation. So you got to figure out a way to if JC came into the temple and all that, you gotta make a pathway to David's lineage out of the Old Testament. So let's look at it. And that's the first thing you got to do. So we in the first book of the New Testament, which is Matthew, right? Let's get it. So we got to go. The first thing you got to do is make the connection with David. So when you get the book of Matthew, that's the first thing they do. Chapter 1, the book of the generations of Jesus, and then it said the son of David, son of Abraham. They got to establish that first. You got to establish that lie first. So it says Abraham begot Isaac. There you go. They started the lineage right there. But check it out. This is my point. We get to 12. And after that, we're brought to Babylon. Jeconiah begot Sethel. Sethel begot Zerubbabel. So we know who Zerubbabel is. Like I just said, that's the temple that Daniel was talking about was going to get destroyed. And abomination, desolation, they destroyed Zerubbabel temple. And he said the end was going to be, that's the end. Let me read that. I don't want to misquote it. So Daniel said in chapter 9, he says, 27. Well, I'll read 26. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah, Zerubbabel, be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince that shall come. They in the second beast. So the prince or the people that shall come is the third beast, the Greeks, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood unto the end, wars and desolations shall determine. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, Antiochus, and in the midst of the week, we read that in First Maccabees, shall cause the sacrifices and the oblations to cease. For the overspreading of the abomination shall make it desert. So you're going to come, cause the abomination to make it desert, And then he said the sacrifice is gonna cease. Ain't nobody gonna rededicate nothing, right? Even until the consummation, and that determined shall shall be poured upon the desolate. So that's the end. Ain't no way in there. Daniel said somebody's gonna come and rededicate the temple. That was the end of Israel as a nation. He ran them out when they was ran into Africa, and then and like I said, he said 3 days. You're gonna be 2 days, 2,000 years, and then in the third day, you're gonna raise us up. That's where we at. We in the third day, beginning of the third day, we being raised up. All this is not no coincidence. So we see right here back in Matthew, verse 13, Zubel begot Ebal, Ebal begot Echem, Echem begot Asa. Who these men is? Who is these people? Zubel temple got destroyed, so who is these people? Now watch this. 14, Azar begot Zodak, Zodak begot Achim, Achim begot Elib, Elib begot Eleazar, Eleazar begot Mathan, Mathan begot Jacob, Jacob begot Joseph. See that? There go your connection. They had to put some folks in there from time Zerubbabel temple got destroyed and get to Joseph. Story of Joseph and Mary. You don't know none of these characters. From verse 13, Zerubbabel begot Abed. See that? So we know when Zerubbabel got back, then the temple got destroyed. Hell, when Nehemiah came, they already had started intermingling with the people of the land. So he cut off Israel. He cut the nation of Israel off, destroyed the temple, ran the Israelites out, and he returned back to heaven where he came from. So who is these people right here? To get to Joseph from Zerubbabel.
Shalom.
Okay.
Shalom.
Okay.
Right here in chapter 1, verse 2 of Matthew, it says, Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac begot Jacob. Then in verse 15, it says that Mattattai begot Jacob. So how can two people begot the same person?
Well, that's how they do. They name their children by some of their forefathers. That's how you have to. That's why you got to understand the story. You can't just jump into this book and then and don't understand how everything goes. So just like with Darius, with King Darius, the Medes and Persians, he named after a previous Darius. It's two Darius right in that story in Daniel. You had a Darius before Cyrus came that destroyed. Then Cyrus came. Then Cyrus had a son called Darius. You got to understand which Darius you're dealing with and what time. So because they name it, it's like I showed you in chapter 10. Look here in chapter 10 of Genesis. Chapter 10 of Genesis, right? You see this descendants of Noah, verse 1. Noah, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them they were sons born after the flood. So they telling you all three of these men is Noah's sons, right? But let's keep reading. The son of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Midian, Javan, Tubal. Well, it's already a Tubal in Genesis chapter 4, out of Cain lineage. So who in the hell gonna name out of Adam's lineage gonna name their son Tubal? Unless it's Cain's lineage. See that? You see that?
Yes, sir. So back in
I can't hear you.
Shalom, can you hear me?
Now? I couldn't hear you at first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I can't hear you. Okay. So anybody else got any questions or comments before we go? Everybody good? I think you got your mic muted. Okay. Yeah, something going on with your mic. Okay. We'll pick it up on at the evening Shabbat class. With that being said, I'm saying shalom everybody. I'll see y'all this evening at 6 o'clock for our evening Shabbat class. Shalom.